Welcome to Mission 919, my channel devoted to information and narratives of African achievement, well-being, and prosperity. And today I wanted to talk about the multiple and interlocking crises that are happening in the United States. Um, with the pandemic and what happened at the Capitol on the 6th of January at the beginning of this year. Um, Problems with the vaccine rollout, problems in Texas, the fires in California last year, and so on and so forth. Basically, what all of these crises are doing is revealing and exposing long-term situations, long-term dynamics. We can call these things individually and collectively an anacalypsis. Anacalypsis is a Greek term which means an unveiling, an uncovering, a revelation. And this is what we are experiencing in the United States. And while it's very disruptive and dismaying and upsetting in its effects, it is also full of opportunity and potentialities. If we take advantage of them, because it exposes what has been hidden, and so that we can choose to go in a different path if we don't like what we're seeing. Something that came out in the last couple of days was the lowering of life expectancy in the United States, both in general and for specific groups. Life expectancy in the United States as a whole dropped 1 year as of June 2020, so for the first really only 4 or 5 months of the pandemic. African American life expectancy declined 2.9 years just in those 5 months. So, I think that African Americans are often encouraged, taught to see themselves within the context of the United States, but that is becoming more and more and more and more and more problematic with every passing week, every passing day. So, if we look at life expectancy around the world, life expectancy for African Americans as of June 2020 was roughly 72 years. That puts African American life expectancy somewhere around 122nd or 123rd in the world, around Uruguay, I think even lower than Uruguay, and lower than Cape Verde, and around the same life expectancy as Egypt, and a couple of years ahead of Rwanda, which just reached 70 years. So essentially, what's happening is, as a result of the pandemic and other things, life expectancy for African Americans is declining at a precipitous pace, and the life expectancy in many countries in Africa has been increasing, and we are really actually reaching the point now where not only is there a convergence, but there may be a crossing, and life expectancy in many African countries will surpass the life expectancy of African Americans in the United States. So we really have to look at this situation and try to understand why, and see what can be done to address it. Now, I will say there are some wrinkles to this situation. I discovered, looking at the state data, that there are some states in which African American life expectancy, in particular for African American men, is higher than in other groups and is above 80. So I will, in another post, I'll discuss those figures, which I think are very interesting and intriguing. But there's no doubt that the pandemic is wreaking havoc. Of course, it's wreaking havoc on individuals and families, but it's also wreaking havoc, at the statistical level of life expectancy. And as the worst of the pandemic occurred in many places anyway, after June 2020, we can expect that next year the figures will be even more horrendous. And so we're really going to have to take a look at what we need to do to address this situation and turn it around. I have some ideas that I will discuss in another post, but I just wanted to say that we all collectively have to put our thinking caps on, find best practices, come up with solutions. The situation in Texas is also quite revealing. It turns out that we were minutes, sometimes some people say seconds, away from the power grid in Texas failing completely in what would have been a months-long blackout for the state. So, you know, the whatever type of governance or lack thereof in Texas that caused this situation is intolerable, and you know, the ideology that led to it has proven to be a failure, and there must be a change, not only in Texas but across the country. We have to address the infrastructure crises that we face as a country. So in the name of the ancestors, in the name of the unborn, we're the same. Ashe, 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 and we'll see you soon.